And we are back with the third segment of the GSMC Basketball Podcast presented by the GSMC Sports Network. And in this third segment, we are going to be talking about the Cavs and their matchup against the Orlando Magic and how that's been going down recently. A lot of these games, there hasn't really been a lot of scoring. So the final score for this Game 2 performance was 96-86. And keep in mind, the final score of the last game was 97-83. So that's always fantastic. Brady Johnson, hey, I have a question. Go ahead, I might have an answer. If you just tell me what your question is. So regardless, looking at this matchup, again, the scoring, it wasn't all that impressive. And part of that does have to come with the Orlando Magic and their shot selection. So for some reason, if it's not Paolo Banchero scoring or they have no jump shots, their shooting is really, really bad. They shot 9 for 35 from 3, which is not going to win you a playoff game at all against any of these players who are very good at shooting the 3. The Cavs in this game, they ended up shooting 12 for 39. So the fact that they were able to win is no real surprise, given how the Cavs, they just shot better from 3. So there's really there was no contest in the three-point shooting, especially they didn't really shoot that well. Because 12 for 39, Brady Johnson is wondering if he could join our team. I'm not the one who really decides that, so I don't really have an answer for that for you right now at this moment. So my bad. I can't really give you an answer to that because I don't make those decisions. But looking more into the box scores of this game, Donovan Mitchell, he played well in the first game, but he was relatively bad in this one. He ended the game with 23 points, but took 22 shots. So, again, it was pretty good, pretty bad, but the shooting from 3, thankfully, since they're up against the Orlando Magic, who also haven't been shooting well from 3, the three-point shooting hasn't really been that much of a worry for someone like Donovan Mitchell. Evan Mobley, he ended the game with 17 points, 5 of 13 from the field. Jarrett Allen, he ended the game with 16 points, 6 of 10 from the field, as well as 20 rebounds. So obviously he was very effective on the boards for this team. Garland ended the game with 15 points, 5 for 11 from the field, as well as 4 assists. And let's see. That was basically all the important scores. As Isaac Okoro ended the game with 10 points, 4 of 8 from the field. And again, with the score being 96-86, there wasn't really that many scores for either side of the teams, and it's really it's really boring. There's no other word to say it other than the fact that this matchup is really boring because the threes just aren't falling, and most of the time the Orlando Magic's offense is just consistent of people trying to lay the ball up over and over again, and you can only get so many layups. And with the way the Cavs were playing in this game, they weren't really shooting the ball that well either. So it was just boring on both ends of the floor when I was watching this game, and I was flip-flopping between the channels, both the Knicks game and this game. But Paolo Banchero, he did not shoot the ball rather well, and he ended up shooting 9 for 20 from the field with only 21 points. And again, there was like because of the fact that this team is sort of like the fact that this team is just relying on shots in the paint all the time, and the other team is hitting a bunch of threes. There's like there's much more of a it's much more difficult for the Magic to be able to play catch up, despite the fact that they're able to take this many efficient shots in the paint. It's because of the three-pointers that the other team is hitting. And Donovan Mitchell is usually really good in the postseason. So the fact that this team is going to have to play some home games being down 0-2 in the series, I don't think it's a really good it's a good scenario that they have lined up for them going into the playoffs. So maybe if they were like tied in the series, this would have been a little bit better. But since they couldn't split the series, I'm not really feeling that confident on the Magic winning in the first round. I mean, they weren't really my favorites to win the first round against any type of team anyway. So nothing has really changed, but making the series competitive, I genuinely thought they would have like at least won a game by now, but they haven't so far. And with the Cavs, they're most likely going to move on to the second round, which would be interesting to see Donovan Mitchell on that stage once again. He hasn't really made it to the second round recently, and when he did make it to the second round, when he was a rookie, he was really good, and I really liked seeing him play in the postseason. And he's sort of been that player where it's like we know he's really good in the postseason, but it's just every single time he loses in the first round, and that has like a good and a bad reputation to it because, again, you put up great stats, but you end up losing in the first round. So it's like, what are those stats for, if that makes sense? And with all that in mind, now this would be Mitchell's chance to be able to. This will be Donovan Mitchell's chance to be able to sort of prove everyone wrong and show everybody that he deserves to make it to the second round, and he deserves all of these, all the praise that any kind of player would deserve making it to the second round, because it's been a while since he's been there, and he is one of the league's, in my opinion, from what I see from him, he is one of the league's better playoff performers that we have. It's like almost every single time in the postseason he puts on a show. He's done it on Utah. He did it when he was a rookie. He did it when he was in the bubble. He's done it when he did it for a little bit when he was playing against the Knicks last year. It was short-lived, and now he has a chance. Now he's doing it again this year, albeit the fact that he did not really play that well in this game. That doesn't really matter, because at the end of the day, he's the one that's going to most likely be coming out winning the series. And when you win the series, that's really the only thing that people are going to remember. That's one of the more overlooked things about playoff series. Most of the time, a lot of people won't remember if you played really bad if you end up winning. And you can have a few bad games, but if you played really good overall, then it's going to be overlooked. And in this type of game where there's not really, because the way that this game is scheduled and the way that it's been scheduled around other NBA games, it's one of those series where it's like, okay, you can watch this, but this is the big game that's going on right now, because they played this game at 1 o'clock on Saturday, and then they played it again at 7, literally just before the Knicks game was going to start. And obviously, like when the Knicks are playing and when the Cavs are playing, there's going to be a bigger market around the Knicks, and there's going to be more people tuning in to watch the Knicks game than there are going to be people watching the Cavs game. So that, in turn, alleviates a lot of the pressure that a lot of these players have to sort of deal with. Because, again, Brunson has been dealing with a lot of pressure being the best player on the Knicks. And, I mean, being the best player on the Knicks is way different than being the best player on the Cavs, unless you're LeBron James. So, with this game, the Magic have to, it's the same scenario that's applied for all the teams. They have to defend home court, and they have to hopefully tie up the series. And once they tie up the series, then they can hopefully see if they can steal a game and then win at home. But I really don't think, that doesn't really look like that's what's going to happen in this Cavs series. I think that in this Cavs series, like the Cavs are going to close this series out in like 4 or 5 games, and there's really nothing that the Magic are going to be able to do. So that's what I have for the Cavs series. Now, the same thing applies for the Lakers. If they match up against the Nuggets, they're going to have to try to defend home court. The same thing that I said with the Magic. They have to defend home court, and they have to hopefully try and steal a game in Denver, and maybe win in 6 games at home. That's basically like the same scenario that I said previously for the Orlando Magic, and I see this happening only because the Lakers have been able to hold a lead over the Denver Nuggets more than once, and they just need to hold it just a little bit longer, and when they do that, then they can win. So I really think that they have a shot. They have a tiny shot. Now, the Knicks game, and for the Knicks, I really don't think that the Sixers have a chance. And this might be like just the New York talking, but like I really don't think that the Sixers have a chance to stop the Knicks whatsoever. And they, I could see this again ending in 4 or 5. But if the Sixers want to win, they have to defend home court. Then they have to steal a game, and then they have to hopefully win at home in Philly and avoid the Game 7 in a hostile environment. Now, that's usually like the scenario that a lot of teams would want to play for, and that's usually what it comes down to. And that's where home court advantage is very, very important, because if you have that home court advantage in that elimination game, then the chances that you have in winning are just a little bit better than the other team because they're not playing in home court. So if you have that home court advantage in the elimination game, and if you're that team that's up 3-2 and you're playing that game 6 at home, you want to try and close that game out so that way you could avoid playing in a hostile environment for Game 7, which is what happened with Joel Embiid in his last series against the Boston Celtics. They ended up going up 3-2, and whoa, look at the brightness. They ended up going up 3-2, and they had to play the last game in Boston, and they just couldn't win in that final game. That's obviously that's a scenario that Joel Embiid doesn't want to play again. So he would have to win out in these next games if he doesn't want to lose his chance in the postseason. But that's basically like all the opinions and all the statements that I have going into the next game. So with that, we are out of time for this third segment, and now I will go ahead and go into the fourth segment where I'm going to talk about the matchups that are going to be happening tonight And the matchups that they're going to start at 7:30. And I'm basically going to just give a quick rundown of the teams that I think are going to win tonight. So I will be right back after this short break.
For the best and latest podcasts available anywhere, go to the podcast app on your cell phone and type in GSMC to access free content-rich podcasts on health and wellness, book reviews, sports, entertainment, relationships, social media, movies, technology, finance, and even weird news. Subscribe and download the GSMC Podcast Network's family of shows, available everywhere podcasts are found.